Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, and a big hello to Barry Matthews, who emailed the show saying, "Hi Neil, loving the podcast. It keeps me entertained while out running in the mornings." And when not running in the physical sense, he also runs ISG's business in Northern Europe. And he said one of your recent podcasts on Manchester United and HCL also recently won one of our annual Paragon Awards. And I think that event took place last week. And he also goes on to say, thanks again for your hard work on delivering what is becoming one of my favourite tech podcasts. Barry, thanks so much, not just for listening on your run and inspiring me to get my running shoes back on too, because I have been taking it a little bit too easy lately, but also for taking the time to email me. So much so, I'm going to get up and salute you. So, Barry, I officially salute you, and a big thank you for sending that message in, because little messages like this really do mean the world to me, and it's a genuine pleasure to serve you all, my audience. Now, before I get a little too sentimental, let's get on with today's show. And today I've invited Stacey Epstein back onto the show from Zinc. The last time we spoke, she completely blew my mind with a stat about deskless workers, and that they account for between 72 and 80% of the entire global workforce. It's a genuine pleasure to get her back onto the show today, so buckle up, hold on tight, so I can beam your ears all the way to San Francisco so we can speak with Stacey Epstein from Zinc. So a massive warm welcome back to the show. Can you just remind the listeners of who you are and what you do?
Yep, I am Stacey Epstein. I am the CEO of Zinc. And Zinc is a technology company focused on deskless workforces. And it may not be a term familiar to everyone, but I can promise you, you've probably already interacted with a deskless worker today. It is upwards of 80% of the population of workers, and it's those people that are not sitting in an office, they're not sitting behind a desk, they're not staring at a computer. They are coming to your home to install your cable TV. They're helping you at a retail store. They're working with you as you check into your hotel room, and they're cleaning your hotel room when you depart. Again, they're people that aren't staring at a computer screen or even a phone screen to do their jobs. And because of that, they are always mobile, and they're somewhat disconnected from what we're used to. You and I, Neil, we're probably both looking at our computer screens right now. We're looking at email, and we're looking at other applications that we use in our job. But these workers don't have the benefit of those kinds of connections. And so Zinc is an all-mode communication platform that helps connect these deskless workers to the tribal knowledge in their organization. And whether that's texting or calling or video calling or sharing content with their peers or with their managers or receiving important information from their corporation, they're getting that communication that they need to help them do a better job.
Now, when I last spoke to you, your words really resonated with me when you talked about deskless workers accounting for between 72 and 80% of the global workforce. I mean, that stat is just phenomenal. But can you refresh the listeners' memory about what Zinc is, and also provide enterprise communication for deskless workers and how important that is?
Yeah, again, so these workers they're just disconnected. Yeah. And yet they are the face of your brand. I mean, I think of a company like Dish Networks, who here in the US, they're a very prominent provider of satellite TV, right? So if you want the Dish Network in your house, and you're going to get all your ESPN and your millions of channels. And that service doesn't work unless somebody comes out to your house and puts that satellite dish on your roof and makes sure it's working all the time. And so if that worker who is deskless, right, they're never sitting behind a desk, they're showing up at your door and they're trying to get you up on your TV. If that worker doesn't have access to experts when they have a question, information, just anything that they might need to be connected to their company, then they have a harder time doing a good job. If you think about, again, it's hard for us to put ourselves in their shoes because we are not deskless. We're sitting at a desktop and we're looking at a computer. But imagine the life of a Dish Network technician. they ring that doorbell and it is something different every single time. Every house is wired differently. The weather is different. The way you get up on the roof, the height of the roof, the personality and temperament of the person behind the door who wants their TV. Every single job is different, and it's hard. It's a hard job. And because of that, retention is a big challenge in deskless industries. And yet, if whatever that person faces on the other side of that door, on that roof, if they know that help from an expert is just one text or one video call or one phone call away, then they have the reassurance that they can handle anything, and it drives engagement and it also drives performance. And so that's what we do. We're an enterprise communication platform. It is not like SMS or iMessage or WhatsApp. It is secure. It is provided by the company. There are groups set up. There are hotlines set up. There are features that really help ensure that deskless worker can get to the knowledge that they need to do a better job in real time. The other side of it is I've been talking a lot about peer-to-peer communications or, finding that expert to help you, but there's also top-down communications. Maybe all the servers that are helping new satellites come online are down. And maybe there needs to be a new procedure for how to do them. That's company information that needs to get out to that deskless worker. I promise you they don't read their email. Just deskless workers, they don't read email, right? So if you're trying to say, hey, all you 5,000 technicians in the field, we need you to know there's a new installation procedure because the servers are down, the only way to get it to them is through a broadcast to their phone, not an email. And so that's the other part of what we do is that corporate or top-down one-to-many communication.
Well, now we've got everybody on the same page. One of the big reasons I invited you back on the show today was after reading your report on effective enterprise communication, the foundation of strategic field service. So can you tell me more about how 23% of respondents in that report are using consumer messaging apps such as SMS, text messages, WhatsApp, GroupMe, etc., and also why that's not necessarily a good thing?
Yeah, well, I will tell you, first of all, I think that 23% of respondents admitted to using consumer messaging apps. Yeah. My experience in dealing with these deskless workforces is that it's incredibly high, and a lot of companies don't even know how much their field-based workers are using consumer apps. Now, consumer apps, there's no question. I mean, you and I probably use texting or WhatsApp very frequently in our personal lives. There's a reason for that, right? It's not slow. You can get a quick message across. The person will get it quickly. You can get a quick response. They're very effective forms of communication, and that's why these deskless workers are drawn to them. The problem is they're not safe for work. And there's a few reasons why. Well, and it's even more than safe. It's the effectiveness of them. So number one is just security. You have no visibility, as a company, you have no visibility into who's using them, who are in what groups, who's communicating with whom, what kind of proprietary information is being shared across these groups, that there's no security whatsoever. So, I mean, we've seen companies with very, very high level of security requirements who have lockdown phones that they give to their employees, and yet the only way to communicate is email. Again, these guys don't use email. So they put those phones away and they pull out their personal phone and they get on WhatsApp and they start sharing very proprietary information with groups. Well, what happens when somebody quits and leaves the company and goes to a competitor? They're still in all those groups. Whose responsibility is it to get that person out of those groups? If IT has no knowledge of the usage and no way to manage it, it's a pretty risky situation. The other side of this, besides just security and lack of administrative features, is the effectiveness of it. Now, I may get up on that roof and have a problem getting that satellite turned on, and I need help in real time. If I'm just using consumer apps, I probably have 4 or 5 buddies on my team that maybe we have a little group and we text all day. Well, those 4 or 5 buddies may not have the answer to help me. So I may need to get to an expert who I don't know their name, I don't know their number, I don't know anything about them. But if you have an enterprise solution, you can set up groups, you can set up hotlines so that you go straight to that particular group and you know you're getting right to the right person that has the answer. So again, I think I was actually surprised to see 23% because I feel like it's much, much, much higher. And really, there's just such a simple solution that is an enterprise solution. And that's why we published this report to try to get more visibility to these companies that there is an answer where you don't have to shut down communication. But you can provide something that you can manage and you can administer that will still be used by this type of workforce.
And something else that really stood out for me was that 90% of survey respondents also indicated that real-time communication is either mission critical, very important to their field workers being able to do their job effectively, and 70% of field service organisations actually said the visibility into their field operations could use improvement. I mean, did those results surprise you at all?
No, I mean, 90%, I would like to know who the 10% are that says that real-time communication is not either mission critical or very important.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that 10% assumes that their technicians or their field workers know everything they could ever need to know and are never going to run into any kind of trouble. Imagine you trying to do your job without being able to communicate in real time. Like it's just, you and I, we're communicating in real time right now. I talk to my boss, I talk to my team, I send an email. There's a lot of real time communication that happens. And honestly, that number should be 100% in my perspective. 70% of field service organizations saying that they could use improvement on their visibility into field operations. Again, it's a high number. I am not surprised, right? They're out in the field. They're not connected. They're not on email. They're not sitting next to you in the office. How can you possibly know what their issues are, what they're struggling with, what are they facing? How could you improve that product that they're implementing to make it easier and less of a need for service? These are the issues that are facing a lot of these deskless workforces that really we at Zinc are trying to help them solve.
So what did you learn about how effective enterprise communication is enabling field service organisations to be more intentional and strategic in their service delivery? What are the big takeaways for you?
Yeah, I mean, again, I keep using the Dish Networks example, and so I'll just continue to use it so that I don't have to keep explaining a new example. But I think a lot of people think about communication and they say, oh yeah, communication is really important. It's one of those soft things for me to measure. And, I want to make sure I'm communicating. And what they don't understand is that this is about running a better business. This is about a strategy to drive metrics. And when you look at a company like Dish Networks, the most important thing to them is that they are getting to their customers and solving their customers' issues or requests as quickly as possible. It is a highly commoditized industry, right? We've got a handful of cable TV providers that we can choose from, and there's really not a huge amount of difference, right? I can pretty much get the channels I want from whomever I sign up with. The difference is I sign up, I want it today. I don't want to wait 5 days until you can send a technician. I want it today. And when you get here, I want you to take as small amount of my time as possible, right? So I don't want a 7-hour window to wait for you. And when you get here, I don't want it to take you 3 hours to get it set up. That is the pressure that these companies have to compete against. And communication can really drive results. So let me play that out for you. I'm a dish technician. I show up at your door. I'm on time, you're happy about that, but now I've run into an issue on your roof where the wiring's a little funky and I have no idea how to fix it. What happens if I can't get help? Typically what happens is I climb back down the roof, I tell you I'm very sorry, but I'm going to have to, Dish is going to have to send somebody out who actually has knowledge of this, and I don't know how long that's going to be. It could be days. Well, now you're not happy. You wanted your TV. You might just cancel and go to somebody else. That is a very real reality. Now, if I get up on that roof and I have trouble and I can jump on a quick video call with an expert and they can say, oh, take this wire, move that over there. Oh, I can see it in video. Oh, now I've solved the problem. I have dramatically increased my important metric, which is called time to service. The time it takes me to get you in service is dramatically shortened by that ability to communicate. And that in turn drives the overall performance of the entire organization. In fact, Dish Network just won the J.D. Power Award for customer service. And part of it is because they're getting service done faster. And that's because of communication and getting those technicians in the field the answers they need to get the job faster. So I think what I continue to learn from our customers is this isn't just the nice, soft, happy skill of communication. This is hard business and business results.
So we do have workers such as technicians, hotel staff, utility workers, flight crews, warehouse staff, manufacturing plant engineers, and so many other different workers that are always on the go and never sitting at a desk. So how can their tools and technology that they use to communicate in real time actually be improved in your mind?
Yeah, well, a few ways, some of which I've talked about. Get them off consumer apps, but don't try to get them off a consumer app and put them on some clunky enterprise app. That's the other thing we see is, okay, let's get these, we don't want them on consumer apps anymore, so we got to get them on an enterprise app, so let's put them all on Microsoft Teams. Well, Microsoft Teams was not built for deskless workers. It's a great tool. It was built for people sitting on a computer using a lot of other Microsoft apps. It's integrated to PowerPoint. Trust me, deskless teams do not use PowerPoint, right? Yeah. So the problem is they won't use it because it's not built for them and it's hard to use. So you give them Microsoft Teams, they take one look and they say, yet another clunky software program my company wants me to use. I'm just going to go right back to using my texting or my WhatsApp. So they won't use it. Yeah. So I think really the focus, especially for this workforce, needs to be on the user experience and specifically the user interface. It has to be familiar. It has to be easy. It can't be enterprise desktop focused, or really they will not use it. And so I think as an industry, as we look to build more technology for that workforce, we have to think about their life, the fact that they're not sitting in front of a computer. They have no tolerance for anything complex or noisy. It's got to pretty much look like texting or they're just not going to use it.
So do you have any examples of field service organisations that have actually embraced this communication platform that's specifically built for deskless workers, and also how it's improved the productivity of their workforce by actually just giving them the real-time access to information and resources that they need to get their job done?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked a lot about Dish, and I can share other examples. We have quite a few Marriott properties, so totally different. Hospitality, think of all those workers in hotels. They're never sitting at a desk. If anything, they might be standing at the front desk checking you in, but they're not reading their email. Traditionally, some of those workers had been outfitted with radios or walkie-talkies, which, I mean, it's certainly real-time communication. It can be loud, and it's only one mode of communication. So if I'm in the back of a dark conference room and a conference is going on and I need to communicate something, I certainly don't want to be talking into a walkie-talkie, right? I'd rather send a text. Or if I want to share a video or share a photo, or if I'm in a certain location where I need help or I need a part, I want to share my location. The fact that everybody has a phone in their pocket means that everybody can be connected across the hotel using all modes of communication. And we do, by the way, offer push-to-talk functionality as part of Zinc, so they can still have that radio functionality. They just have it along with all the other modes of communication in a company app. So they're another great example.
So what's next for Zinc? Is there anything else you can share with us today about where you're heading?
Yeah, so we have a big release coming up actually next month. Lots of enhancements to our broadcast functionality. So the ability to send rich media on a broadcast. You could send an actual video. Let's say you're the leader of the division and you want to send a quick video to engage workers, or you want to send a video that shows instructions on how to install something. So a lot of different new features in our broadcast. And then we're also officially rolling out hotline groups. It's been in beta for a little while now, but it's now going to be officially rolled out as part of the solution. Hotline groups are an ability to get directly to an expert. And it's a way to message to a group that you're not part of. And so to expand on that a little bit, think if there's a group of 5,000 technicians and everybody's just asking all their questions in one big group, not very effective and super noisy. Now imagine I've got an HR question. I need to get straight to HR. I don't necessarily want everybody else in the organization to see my question, but I want to make sure it gets to the right organization. So you could send a message to the HR hotline group, and a staff of expert HR folks would be managing that queue, would see your question and could take you off to a one-on-one conversation to handle your question and get you the answer. So a lot of good new fun features in our next release, which is coming out here in the second week of November.
Fantastic. So many big talking points here. And I know there's going to be a lot of people wanting to find out more information. So could you just point the listeners in the direction of where they can find you online, and maybe contact a member of your team if they've got any questions about our conversation?
Sure. So our website is www.zinc.it. So Zinc it is how we say it. And you can certainly find me on LinkedIn under linkedin.com/Stacey Epstein, or I'm also on Twitter @Stacey Epstein.
Well, once again, your words have really resonated with me, Stacey, and talking about deskless workers, and especially that stat, 80% of the global workforce, and the importance of keeping everyone connected in a digital age is so vital. So a big thank you for raising that and joining me on the show again today. Thanks, Stacey.
Thank you. Always great to talk to you.
I'm so glad that Stacey came back on the show today and highlighted so many great talking points from this new report. And also about the important role that not just Zinc plays, but also technology plays in the deskless worker industry, which I hope each and every one of you listening will never forget that it actually represents 80% of the global workforce. And it's so refreshing to hear a different side of the story and how technology is helping those that are not chained to a desk in a faceless office. And Barry, if you're still on your run, come on, you can do this. Gonna fly now. Sorry, I can't help myself sometimes. But seriously, Barry, if you finish your run, let me know your thoughts about today's episode, and indeed everyone else listening all over the world. And you can email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, or tweet me @Neil C. Hughes. And also, you can pop by my website, techblogwriter.co.uk/podcasts, and you can leave me a virtual voicemail. We have covered so many topics this month. Where are we going tomorrow? Well, I'm going to leave that as a little surprise. No spoiler alerts today. Nothing but a big thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.